The build to All In is all over the place. So let's talk about that first. The build to All In, has it been botched, is my question to everyone this week. Because they're now billing it as the biggest event in wrestling history. And rightfully so. They've sold a lot of tickets, over 80,000. I checked the records and numbers and whatnot. I mean, obviously, it's the highest, most attended event outside of WWE. I know WCW and not NWA. New Japan did that North Korea show that was covered on Dark Side of the Ring in 95. That did like 160, 70,000 people each night, whatever. But like beyond that sort of stuff, WWE has the record for Mania 32, which they billed as a 101,000, and it was not 101,000. I don't know if people go off the number of 80,000, which is what I think Brandon Thurston reported, or 93,000, which is what Meltzer reported at the time. I mean, Wembley it's not even set up for 93,000, so they're not breaking that, but I tend to believe the 80,000 Thurston, from what I've seen, seems to be pretty accurate with his numbers. So All In, by all intents and purposes, is the biggest, most attended event in wrestling history in the modern era specifically, even including WWE, including Mania 32 from what it looks like, and all the other Manias that we've had in recent years. That is an amazing accomplishment for a show that up until a couple of weeks ago had no matches, for a company that's only been around a couple of years, that has had no shows there. That's part of the appeal as well. If they had other shows in the United Kingdom before now, maybe this show wouldn't have sold as well. They probably would have done a great number regardless, but I don't know if they would have sold 80,000 tickets because that audience had already been exposed to AEW. In the near 5-year existence of this company, they had yet to run a single show in overseas over in England. So that adds to the allure and the magic as well. That being said, you would never really know that from watching these Dynamite shows. Some Dynamite shows are stronger than others. I'm not debating that. The build to Cole and MJF has been excellent. What we got from them on Wednesday, the talking segment, the backstage skit was fucking dumb. The Outback Steakhouse thing was fine. That was kind of funny. And then they followed it up with they were pretending to catch, an Australian, some guy backstage and pushing him into a pool. That was dumb. And then it just went completely off the deep end with the Tony Khan thing. Getting Tony Khan involved in anything on these shows is the worst thing you can possibly do. First of all, because people just don't like Tony Khan anyway. It gives those fans, those anti-AEW fans, more ammo to just shit on the company. But second of all, because he's a fucking awful television character. Whether it's on Ring of Honor or AEW TV, there's not been a single segment where we have seen Tony Khan on the show where he's come across organically or naturally. He's just an awkward guy. And that's fine, but it's just not suited for a television persona. Even in a dumb segment like that was just cringy. The actual segment of the ring with Cole and MJF talking about their match at All In and how much it means to them, and MJF recounting his history, ending up on the first All In 5 years ago, his relationship with Cody Rhodes, was great. I thought that was a great promo, one of MJF's better promos in recent weeks. And they built up the Aussie Open match, and they got a lot going for themselves with this MJF and Cole program. And to Tony Khan's credit, he's doing an amazing job of capitalizing on it, making sure it's a big part of the shows every single week, continuing the story, making sure Cole and MJF aren't turning on each other until at least All In, maybe All Out, we'll find out. But the program so far has been perfectly handled. The problem is that the rest of the card is in fucking shambles right now. We have the Bucks and FTR competing for the tag team titles on that All In show. Their third match. First one being at the Full Gear show in 2020. The second one being on Dynamite in Boston on the, I almost said post-WrestleMania show. It was after WrestleMania, but that doesn't have to do with AEW. It was that early April 2022 edition of Dynamite that FTR beat Bucks clean to retain the Ring of Honor tag team titles. This is going to be their third match, their rubber match. And it's going to be great, no doubt about it. And it's awesome that it's happening on the biggest stage in AEW history. The problem is that they really haven't put, so far, any thought into the matchup. It comes together completely randomly. Again, they have that built-in history already, but FTR was busy doing other stuff on Collision. The Bucks were busy with the Elite stuff. There just wasn't a lot of build-up for it. And the problem is that in recent weeks, it's like, all right, match for All In, we want you, that's it. I feel like we need at least one big talking segment from these two teams heading into next weekend, which we probably will not get until next Wednesday, because I don't think the Bucks can appear on Collision with Punk being there and whatever. We probably may not get it at all, but if we do get it, it would have to be next Wednesday on the final Dynamite before the pay-per-view to really, again, people are already excited for it, but I want a big talking segment with both teams explaining why they need to win this match, their history, why they want to win this match, the importance of the tag team titles, and everything else. We need more of that heading into All In with the build for this matchup. But I'm at least excited for that match. Punk and Joe, to me, again, it's not random because they do have unfinished business from years ago, but also just a couple of weeks ago as well. That's another match that kind of sells itself. The rest of the card kind of comes into question for me. We had 3 more matches made official on Wednesday's show. Jericho and Will Ospreay, seemingly a non-title match. I did not know until last night that apparently this was made official the other day, a couple days ago, that Ospreay is now the IWGP United Kingdom Heavyweight Champion. It's no longer the United States Championship. They renamed it, or he renamed it, the United Kingdom Championship. So I don't think that title will be on the line come All In. That came together after Jericho accepted Don Callis' offer to join his family. And then he saw a painting of Callis that Callis had painted of him decapitating Jericho and turning on him, assuming he would say no. And then Jericho changed his mind and said, I'm not going to join you. It just made him look like an idiot. And then Sammy Guevara saved Jericho from Ospreay, who showed up, and Takeshita. So Jericho is a babyface, I guess, even though Ospreay is certainly going to be the babyface in his home country in England. Kind of weird. Kind of a waste of Ospreay, in my opinion. I'd rather see Ospreay work with someone else, whether it be Omega for a third time, which I don't think is really necessary. They had 2 matches. Ospreay got his belt and win back. Did they even really need a third match, especially if Omega's going to lose again? Probably not. The matches were amazing, but they don't really need a third one. Anyway, it seemed like Omega was going to work with Bryan Danielson reportedly at All In before Danielson got hurt. That would have been amazing as well. But that's not happening. So we're getting Ospreay and Jericho instead. Speaking of Omega, he had a sit-down interview on the show with Jim Ross, pre-taped earlier in the day. Essentially what it led to was, or what it's going to be, is Juice Robinson, Jay White, and who is their partner? I don't even remember. But it's going to be Kenny Omega, Adam Page, and Kota Ibushi, the Golden Elite, taking on Bullet Club Gold's Jay White, Juice Robinson, and might be Takeshita. I think it's Takeshita, actually, so that would make sense. That's a 6-man tag team match added for All In. Now, again, I know that they want to get everyone on the show, but it's just coming at the expense of the card at this point. You look at the Stadium Stampede match. We kind of figured they would be doing a multi-man match based on what's been talked about by Meltzer, I believe, and just been what's teased on the show. We're getting a fucking 12-man Stadium Stampede match, which sounds like an absolute mess. Those were more bearable than Anarchy in the Arena to me, because they're a little less... They're goofy, but they're less like extreme. And extreme isn't the problem. They just go over the top of the Anarchy in the Arena crap. But we're getting Stadium Stampede with Blackpool Combat Club and 3 partners against the Lucha Bros, Best Friends, Eddie Kingston, and Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy not defending the International Championship on an international show is fucking stupid to me. I'm sorry. He's had a million different defenses, including on Wednesday's Dynamite, but not on the actual international show itself. Could they not just do him and Moxley or something, or Moxley and Kingston? I love the Lucha Bros. Best Friends are best friends. You don't need everyone on the show. You really don't. I mean, they've done a million different battle royals. They do that all the time on Dynamite, so you probably can't do that, which is what WWE did with SummerSlam to get a lot of people on SummerSlam. I mean, it was a Slim Jim sponsored matchup, so they kind of had to do it. But that was their way of getting a lot of people onto the SummerSlam card. AEW does this constantly, though. It's not a series of big culmination matches or big attractions. It is with the top of the card, MJF and Cole, the Joe and Punk match and FTR and the Bucks are 3 strong top matches. But these multi-man matches are just crap. I'm sorry. Just that Stadium Stampede, I know they're in an actual stadium now, but how does that even work? Because they were pre-taped elements the first one took place during COVID. The second one had a live audience, but there were a lot of elements of it that were pre-taped and happened elsewhere in the arena. I'm just not really sure how that works and how it differs from Anarchy in the Arena that we just saw a couple of months ago at Double or Nothing. I'm just not exactly excited for that. I'm glad Eddie Kingston's back on the show, but a 12-man, man? What the fuck is this? I mean, I don't know. I think I just expected more from this build. Maybe not, because Tony Khan really hasn't done a great job of building up his last couple of pay-per-views. He waits until the last minute, or if he doesn't, he just adds a bunch of multi-man matches, which is exactly what he's doing with All In. And you also have All Out the following week that we know nothing about practically, aside from probably getting Miro and Powerhouse Hobbs and Allen and Luchasaurus for the TNT Championship. They're going to confirm 85% of that card after All In. I get it. I understand it. At the same time, though, that show feels like a complete afterthought. They really do not need to do All In for the sake of the Chicago crowd. They can fucking wait. They could have just done the If they really wanted to do a P Chicago, they could have just done Full Gear there in November. They're going to be there anyway for their Thanksgiving show, so why not just bunch it all up into one? I don't know, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I am looking forward to the show. This will be a great all-in show. We talked about the ticket sales a couple of months ago here in WrestleRant Radio. I was more optimistic than RJ was as far as how many tickets they would sell. They still blew past both of our numbers, and that's amazing, and it's an incredible accomplishment. But I wish AEW did more to make the show feel bigger.